So how do I want to build a space in which I invite people? And I was always, I love painting, but for me, I would not feel competent to make a painting. When I see a frame, I want to enter. I want the frame to become a door. So I say, if I can contribute to the development of art and culture and ideas, for me, the frame becomes a door, and I want to enter. And if I enter that painting, I can sort of imagine it in 3D. I can imagine some fields are transparent. I go beyond them. I look at it from behind. So this is what I'm trying to do. My material are photographs, they're videos, they're like the things you do with these simple tools. But I try to arrange them to create a sort of garden of sound and images and transparencies, and a place where it's not a game. I'm using game engines to put this together and let you navigate through it, but it's not a game. The game, it would just be to hang around, look at something that grabs your attention. Why? I don't know. Maybe something that speaks to you at one point. You stop, you spend some time with it, and then you move on.
I'm a sculptor. I'm an installation artist. And I have these stories inside. And what I try to do with my work is find a way to tell a very complex story in an object. Unlike Luc, I don't take a library of images that you can travel through and construct a narrative. The narrative is clear already. We know the history. We should know the history. What I find out, of course, is we don't know the history. The history has been hidden. It has been withdrawn from our grasp. And we are the poorer because we don't have a hold of our history. And so gradually over the years, my life and my work has come to be about trying to grab that history back. Because I believe that only when we have knowledge of what occurred, can we begin the work of repairing what was wrong about that. What I like to do is take materials of different kinds and use their complexity and also their simplicity to help me to construct that narrative.
But I should say that I've been involved in two communities all my life, the Japanese Canadian community and the artist community. And my activities and projects in these two communities have run through my life in parallel pretty well. And sometimes they get to cross over and blend, and it's particularly gratifying when that happens. All the while I've made art, and I wrote this description of what I do years ago, but I think it still holds true. I said, in my personal work, and it kind of explains the eclecticism of my work. In my personal work, I like it when I can combine two or more of the following: Japanese Canadianness, abstract expressionism, Hamilton, the city where I live, literature, and a sense of communality. I want them to be gracefully awkward combinations and surprising encounters.
This new work I did a residency at ʷəŋən, which is a heritage park in Saskatchewan, where I'm from Treaty 4. But it's where the Cree people would gather, and there's 5 bison jumps. And so I was invited to do a residency in the summer. And 2 years ago, they reintroduced the bison back to this land, where they had lived for millennia. And because bison, they like to get down and rub and bathe in that dirt, they exposed 4 rocks, 4 petroglyphs. I know. And I knew this before they told the public about it, and I couldn't tell anybody. It's just like, it's kind of like getting this GG award. I couldn't tell anybody for 4 months. And then I just found out on International Indigenous Day on September 30th, there was a baby bison born. So this residency, I just wanted to honor the bison. And I was thinking about how our people, our contemporary Indigenous people, we use ribbon. And we use it for honorship, celebration, like ribbon skirts, ribbon shirts. So for me, this is honoring the bison being returned to their homeland.
And I didn't go to art school, but I studied it myself. Like people ask me, and I said I went to art school at the Prince Rupert Public Library. But I know all that, and I wanted to know what good art was. And I found too that like to be a true artist, you have to continuously learn and use it. And what I'm trying to do now is put what I know into my pieces, into my sculpture. And that's what I'm doing now with my new pieces. And I'm working on a show now about the canneries, because I realize we're the last First Nations cannery generation that lived there, worked there, fished there, and there's no more canneries. And the canneries have been running in northern BC for over 100 years, and our people were always involved, First Nations. So what I want to do, I want to make a statement about that. And also I want to make a statement about we're losing our salmon, like the buffalo, like that's our buffalo, because, like all the animals that depend on it. And so that's what I'm working on now. I'm working on a show about the cannery days. I'm going to call it the cannery days, the glory days.
It took me many years to get back to my roots, because I went to residential school. It had something to do with that. So it took me many years to get back to my roots, where I was born. And that's what I do, is mostly legends, and I also do animations about legends and myth. And that's one of them, I think. About 7 legends put together. So that's where I am now, and I'm, slowing down a little bit. But I probably will keep going until right to the end. What else can I do? So I've been doing artwork all my life. I've never done anything else except art.
In my early work, I did mostly performance art, and it's not depicted here at all, but I think it was because at the time I didn't have my language. I'm learning it now as an older person. But so I realized that the early performance work was me trying to find a sort of a personal lexicon with my body and materials, and I was trying to say something. I was trying to express myself. And when I started learning my language, my desire to sort of be performing and to be making the work I was making sort of started to fade away. Because I realized the language knew me, my language knew me, and I didn't have to do all the kind of gestures I was doing for so long. And then, so I started moving from making work that was about me performing to work that was about other people getting to participate, about other people being the focus of the work. So I started realizing that in my life, when I went visiting, and in my language you say "Gyogyawin," and Gyogyawin is like knowledge transfer. You go to someone's house, and in that process of having that visit, some knowledge has been transferred. There's an interchange. And I started realizing that there was like stories that would be like, oh, that's an amazing story, and it had a transformational effect on me. And so this piece is a piece about transformation, and it's based on a story from our our elder sibling.
My name is Amy Gogarty, and along with Rain Mackay, the director of the Craft Council of BC, I had the very great honor of nominating Lou Lynn for the 2021 Sadie Bronfman Governor General's Award. The trajectory of her career evinces a continual development and refinement of her technical skill and artistic vision. Throughout, she has focused on the iconic forms of tools and other functional objects. These attract her for their relationship to craft and human culture, emphasizing what craft historian Howard Rosati has described as the relationship between tools and the human hand, which is the very basis of craft. In many ways, Lynn thinks of her work in terms of the archaeology of everyday life. She collects antique tools, admiring them for the beauty of their forms and for their archaeological interest. The tools she makes, however, are impossible. They will never be used. Combining the strength of bronze with the fragility of glass, her abstract forms exaggerate and expand the notion of the tool, yet they speak to the mind and the imagination rather than to any pressing task. Many of Lou Lynn's tools appear to be fragments of larger machines. Although obscure as to their original purpose, these works are characterized by precision, attention to detail, and finish.